Imagine walking into a crowded bar and never walking out. A young medical student vanishes without a trace. No exit caught on camera, no clues, no goodbye. Nearly 2 decades later, Brian Shaffer's disappearance remains one of America's most chilling urban legends, haunting the streets of Columbus, Ohio. How can someone simply cease to exist in the middle of a busy nightlife district? Tonight on Case Unknown, we dive into the bizarre disappearance of Brian Shaffer and the legend that still grips Ohio. Welcome to Case Unknown, the channel where we peel back the shadows on America's most chilling mysteries, urban legends, and haunted tales. Today, we're exploring one of Ohio's most haunting enigmas, the disappearance of Brian Shaffer. His case has baffled police, devastated loved ones, and spawned eerie legends that still echo through Columbus nightlife. So stay tuned as we retrace Brian's last known steps, examine the puzzling evidence, and uncover the theories, both logical and supernatural, that swirl around this case. Before Brian Shaffer became an urban legend, he was a vibrant 27-year-old with big dreams. He was a second-year medical student at Ohio State University, known for his love of music, especially Jimmy Buffett, and his easygoing personality. Friends described Brian as charismatic and adventurous, a guy who loved tropical vacations and playing guitar. But beneath his bright future, Brian carried heavy grief. Just weeks before his disappearance, his mother, Renee, had passed away after a battle with cancer. Those close to him said he seemed exhausted and emotionally drained. Despite his loss, Brian was still moving forward, planning a getaway to Miami with his girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner, who many believed would become his fiancée. March 31, 2006, marked the beginning of Ohio State's spring break. And for Brian Shaffer, it was meant to be a night of release from stress and sorrow. Brian joined his friend, Clint Florence, for a bar crawl around Columbus's Gateway District. They started at the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a popular bar perched above a buzzing entertainment strip. Throughout the night, they bounced between several bars, drinking and meeting friends. Witnesses said Brian seemed happy, even joking and dancing. Around 1:15 a.m., security cameras captured Brian chatting with 2 women outside the Ugly Tuna Saloona's entrance. Moments later, he's seen walking back toward the bar's interior. And that is the last confirmed sighting of Brian Shaffer. Strangely, cameras never caught him leaving. When the bar closed, his friends called him repeatedly, searched the area, and even waited outside, hoping he'd appear. But Brian had vanished. By the next day, Brian's family and friends were frantic. Calls to his phone went straight to voicemail. He hadn't shown up for his flight to Miami with Alexis. Columbus police launched an immediate investigation. They combed through hours of security footage from the Ugly Tuna Saloona and neighboring businesses. Oddly, the cameras caught Brian entering the bar, but never leaving. Investigators wondered, could he have slipped out through a back exit under construction? Police, K-9 units, and volunteers searched surrounding streets, alleys, dumpsters, and even the nearby Olentangy River. But there was no sign of Brian. There was also no activity on his bank account, credit cards, or cell phone records. Nothing to suggest he'd planned to disappear. Brian's apartment was untouched. His car was still parked outside. For his family and the city of Columbus, it was as if he'd vanished into thin air. Nearly 2 decades later, Brian Shaffer's disappearance remains a puzzle with no clear answers. Over the years, countless theories have tried to explain what might have happened that night. One theory suggests Brian simply walked away from his life. Friends say he was grieving his mother's death and overwhelmed by medical school. Could he have slipped out through the bar's construction exit and vanished to start over somewhere new? Another possibility is foul play. Some wonder if Brian met with violence inside the bar. Could someone have harmed him and hidden his body? Ugly Tuna Saloona was under renovation, full of hidden corners and dark passages. Others believe Brian may have suffered an accident. The area behind the bar was a hazardous construction zone with drop-offs and debris. Was it possible he fell, became trapped, or succumbed to injuries where no one found him? Then there are the more chilling rumors, the ones that have turned Brian's case into an urban legend. Some locals whisper that his spirit haunts the Ugly Tuna Saloona. Internet sleuths claim sightings of a man matching Brian's description in distant cities. Some believe he's alive, but hiding. Others believe something far more sinister or supernatural took him. Despite endless speculation, there's no evidence confirming any theory. For now, Brian Shaffer remains both a missing person and a modern American urban legend. As years passed without answers, Brian Shaffer's disappearance evolved into more than just a cold case. It became an urban legend woven into Ohio's cultural fabric. The Ugly Tuna Saloona, once a bustling hotspot, is now forever linked to his name. Patrons speak of a strange chill in certain corners of the bar, and some claim to feel an eerie presence near the entrance where Brian was last seen. Online forums buzz with speculation, blending fact and fiction. Stories circulate that Brian's ghost roams Columbus's nightlife district, searching for a way home. Brian's case is now part of Ohio folklore, mentioned alongside haunted places and ghost stories across the state. Whether rooted in reality or fueled by imagination, his disappearance continues to haunt those who remember the bright young man who vanished without a trace. For Brian's family, the mystery is deeply personal and unbearably painful. His father, Randy Shaffer, never gave up hope. He tirelessly searched for answers, speaking to media and keeping Brian's name alive. Tragically, Randy passed away in 2008, still not knowing what happened to his son. Brian's girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner, waited years for his return. She continued calling his phone long after his disappearance, just to hear his voice on voicemail. Every milestone, a birthday, a holiday, a passing year, brings fresh grief for those who loved Brian. For them, the pain remains raw and the questions never end. All they wish for is one answer. Where is Brian Shaffer? Brian Shaffer's story is more than an unsolved case. It's a haunting reminder of how someone can vanish without a trace, leaving loved ones to carry an endless burden of questions. If you have any information, no matter how small, about Brian's disappearance, contact the Columbus Division of Police. Even the tiniest clue might finally bring answers. Thank you for watching Case Unknown. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We're dedicated to uncovering the hidden, the haunted, and the unsolved across America. Join us next time as we step into another chilling tale from the shadows of urban legends and haunted stories.